If you look at the world population, which is now over 6 billion people, and you were to ask yourself the question, where are the big blocks of people, you realize that 1/3 of the entire world is either a Chinese or an Indian. China and India have 1/3 of global population, both exceeding 1 billion members each. That is a tremendous opportunity, and I've worked in India for many years, and I've seen the potential there. But if you look at India, which back in the 50s, when we had probably the highest missionary force there, we had probably a total missionary force of around 2,000 to 3,000 missionaries working in India. Those missionaries began to leave because of visa restrictions in the 70s, about the 70s. But today there are far more than that. There's probably 40,000, some say 50,000 cross-cultural workers in India bringing the gospel to different parts of India. So what you have is actually, though the traditional missionary community is gone, mostly gone, the Indian community, the Indian missionary movement is very, very hot. And mostly South Indians moving to North India to preach the gospel, plant churches. And I spent quite a few years of my life training South Indians to be missionaries in North India. And this doesn't even hit the radar of the average person who thinks about missionary work, who assumes missionary work is about an American moving to Zimbabwe. They have no idea that today a lot of really amazing missionary work is being done within countries. It's people in Canada going to work with Sikhs right in Toronto. It's with people that are in from Kerala, South India, going up to northern India, a place like Uttarakhand or a place like Punjab. That's a really remarkable missionary work today. So because of that, the Indian church is growing very, very rapidly. And so we predict that in this generation we're going to have 100 million Christians in India. That is a huge growth of Christianity in India. And they're going to need training, they're going to need leadership development, they're going to need a lot of equipping. I spent a lot of time developing the area of translation work. How do we help? Even now, we realized at one point we sat down and wrote down what kind of books would be needed to support a church of 100 million believers. And we sat down and looked at the books of theology, of church history, of missionary work, discipleship materials, Sunday school literature, on and on and on. We just mapped it all in a big chart, and we asked ourselves the question, how long would it take for us to translate all of this material into Hindi? And the answer was at least 20 years. So we decided to start, and we're now about 6 years into that process. But we want to be able to be ready for the church when it gets to the point of needing to grow, multiply, and disciple in ways that we can't imagine. And that's what's happening in India today. It's a good opportunity, and the need for places, seminaries like Asbury and other seminaries, to be aware of the opportunity for training the global church is enormous. Look at China. China is in a situation, India is the largest democracy in the world. Here's China, the largest oppressive, communist regime in the world. So here you have two governments completely opposite that are both the host of two of the largest growing Christian populations and the largest growing economies in the world. This is where we have a dramatic development in the economic world. So the 21st century is going to be a Chinese and Indian world in many ways, economically. And yet that's the place where the church has the opportunity to make a real difference. The Chinese church is growing mostly in the unregistered churches, and these are churches that are often without trained leaders. All kinds of challenges and problems there. So once again, for us to have the opportunity to create training programs, to find ways to start Christian businesses, to find ways to translate materials into Chinese that can help the church in China, I would say that any seminary or any church that can invest their resources and time and energy into strengthening the Chinese church and the Indian church will do quite well, because that is 1/3 of the world. The opportunities there are enormous.